What good is an interactive video clone? Why would someone even want one of these things other than vanity? Well, I use my clone every single day in a lot of different ways. For starters, anytime a marketer writes to me and says, "Hey, can I just have 10 minutes on a Zoom call?" First of all, we know no Zoom calls ever lasted 10 minutes. They take an hour. I say, "Sure, I'm happy to meet with you right now." And I give them a link to my video clone. They can talk to my clone, find out exactly how I think, really get a sense of what I'm all about, and it doesn't take me any time. And I tell them truthfully, I can then see a transcript of the conversation or even watch the video, and then I can decide whether it's worthwhile going to the next round of an actual live meeting. So that saves me a tremendous amount of time. It's also, frankly, much easier for anyone who wants to get a hold of me. Earlier today, I had someone requesting my time to be their personal mentor. Well, I don't have time to mentor everyone who wants to be mentored, but my clone does have time. They happen to be from a different continent, different time zones. My clone is up when I'm asleep at 3 a.m. So there's tremendous use that way. I've had dozens and dozens of people just in the last 2 hours come into my clone to ask questions about presentation skills, communication skills, and life coaching skills. And I didn't have to stop and talk to each one of them. So it saved a lot of time and really helped a lot of people. What are we talking about here? And not just a clone that you have to type a script for and it blah, 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 says what you want to. I'm talking about a video clone that can truly interact with people just like a live conversation, just like a Zoom call. Personal one-on-one conversation is what people value the most. They get the most out of it. Typically, they pay the most, but it's not practical if you are an expert, an author, a trainer, a speaker, a product manager, an entrepreneur, to speak with every single person who wants 5 minutes of your time or an hour of your time on Zoom. So that is far and away the biggest value of the clone. Now, I use it as customer service and as a sales rep on my website. I use it as a pre-training tool when people hire me for a day of training. I use it as a post-training tool for people who have follow-up questions. It's an extra personal tutor for anyone who takes one of my online courses. It's also a standalone thing, just like you might hire Tiger Woods to be your personal golf coach if you had $1 billion. You can actually hire a video-based coach, a video interactive AI coach to be your coach on virtually any subject. Now, I coach people on how to be better communicators, better public speakers, communicators to the media, and on personal development issues. Others could train on anything, could coach on anything where you have expertise, where people have ever asked you a question, or if you have ever trained someone, an online course, an in-person course, anything you speak on publicly, that expertise can be packaged into a digital clone and then made available to anyone in the world at any time in a way that's completely interactive, where they're asking the question, they're telling you what they want to do. Someone can access my clone and say, "DJ, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I just want you to rehearse with me for my next TV interview or my next speech and tell me what you think." And it can do everything from give people feedback on what they're wearing. If I'm wearing this hat in front of my clone, I say, "What do you think of this?" If I'm wearing this at a business meeting, it will say, "TJ, I can see you're wearing a blue baseball cap. Probably doesn't look professional for a business meeting." So those are some of the big uses right now for having an interactive AI video-based clone. There are a lot of other smaller uses. I use it all the time to rewrite content, rewrite intros, to summarize every question that's been posted to the clone in a day and turn that into a column that appears on my tjwalker.ai website. So there's so many things it can do where it's not pulling in general from ChatGPT or Wikipedia or the internet. It's pulling from my brain, and it's much, much faster. If a client says, "TJ, I've got to do an interview tomorrow. You worked with me last week in a day of training. Now I got 3 new messages and I need 20 sound bites." I could do that pretty quickly, but it would take me an hour. I can ask my clone to come up with 20 great sound bites, and it will do it in about 20 seconds. So I just saved myself 59 minutes and 40 seconds. I'd say that's a pretty good savings. So that's a common question I get. Got a bunch of questions coming in from a great collaborator and a fantastic trainer in his own right. Aaron Lee wrote to me with the following questions. He says, TJ, I notice that when you're not talking on your clone, you're idling in other people's clones, the body movements look strange. Do you know if the platform that I'm using is doing something about it? Well, everything is a work in progress every day. So I don't know when it's going to become perfect. But Aaron, just so you know, initially when I trained my clone with the video, I was in a green screen and I was moving. And the problem was, as you know, I stress that people move their hands when they speak. But when the clone is using that video footage to train your avatar, it can't tell the difference at this stage of when you're talking versus when someone is talking to you. So what happened was that when someone's asking me a question, I was doing this. It looked really weird. So I did several more versions where my body was moving, my head was moving, my hands were moving a little, but my hands were down below the camera line of sight, so you didn't see it. Because I wanted some movement. What I didn't want is to be perfectly stiff and straight, because that's what makes someone look robotic. And the last thing I want is a clone to look like a robot. So I added in movement. But as you correctly point out, it looks a little strange, because sometimes you can be asking my clone a question and all of a sudden it just has like a weird expression, or there's a tad too much movement. So I've done about 4 different versions of creating video to train my clone. Each one is getting a little better, but you're absolutely right. It's not perfect, but I still think it's much better than seeing some cartoon character or just hearing the voice and seeing your name up there. Is it 100% perfect? Is everyone fooled? Not that I want to fool anyone. No. But it's getting better all the time, and I think it looks pretty good. Next question, you asked about usage. I believe I answered that. Are you using it to support your current offerings? Well, yes, I do use my clone to support people who've already paid for one of my online courses, or hired me to give a day-long in-person training, or hired me to give a keynote speech. So I'm using it as an extra, and I got to tell you, people appreciate it. At this stage, it's so new and cutting edge. It's a fantastic way of really setting yourself apart. I mean, so many people, especially in big companies, want to deal with vendors who are on the cutting edge and are doing interesting, innovative things. And I got to tell you, of everything and anything I've done in my career, this is the thing that gets people talking. If I'm at a cocktail party or a reception and people find out that I have a clone, they make a beeline to me. They're asking me questions. And then when I give them a little demo on my cell phone, their eyes bug out and say, wow, that is really cool. So that's one of the most significant advantages. And that's not going to last forever. I mean, if you were the first person, I well remember the days, I got a website in 1995. People thought, oh, that's really cool. How'd you do that? Well, these days, nobody gives you credit for having a website. You get blamed and looked down upon if you don't have one, if you own a business, but you don't get credit for having a website. I think the same is going to be true with respect to interactive AI video clones, that at some point, everyone's going to have them, and the comparative advantage will be gone. Right now, there's a huge comparative advantage. To my knowledge, none of my competitors are doing this yet. So that's very much a part of it. What do you suggest I use if my main product is in-person training? So Aaron, I know you do a tremendous amount of in-person training, and you're one of the most widely respected trainers in all of Asia, but it's a great enhancement to an in-person training. For starters, someone calls you and writes you, says, I'm interested in your in-person training. But if it's 2 in the morning and you're asleep, they could go right to your clone and talk to you about your in-person trainings. Next, if you've got an in-person training next week in front of 50 people, you get all those people know, hey, if you want to get a head start, if you have questions, you're nervous about things, talk to my clone today or anytime in the next week. After the training or at the end of the day of training, you can say, you've covered a lot today. We've all learned a lot. You've improved, but hey, you may want to rehearse. And maybe they don't have the budget to hire you to rehearse every single time, especially if it's 50 people. Let them know your clone is not there just to answer questions, but your clone can actually rehearse with them, give them feedback on what they're wearing, or if they're awkwardly touching their nose when they give a presentation. Your clone can give personalized critique. So I think it's a huge enhancement in your offering and your proposal if people are hiring you for a day or two of training to let them know, hey, you can have, perhaps at no extra charge or for some upcharge, they can have access to your clone for a certain amount of time. So that's how I think it would work. It says, I notice you offer memberships. How is it going with membership for clones? So full disclosure, I have sold memberships. I have sold more than one, but I haven't sold a lot. This is brand new. It takes a while to get people just to try this thing on and get used to the concept. My main form of monetization now is it's a huge extra enhancement to my online courses, on my own website, on other platforms. So it makes people value it more. It helps with ratings, gets more minutes consumed on the platforms that do partially compensate based on minutes. It helps me save time when it comes to creating more content. And it is a 24/7, essentially live sales rep on my website. So that's how I'm able to monetize it more than memberships, although I'm certainly excited about in long term, I think the vast majority of revenue will come from people paying some form of monthly, yearly, lifetime, or by the minute membership. What package do you suggest people start with if they are using a platform? Now, I'm using the platform Delphi. I'm not affiliated with them at this point. Now, they give every single customer an affiliate fee, an affiliate link. I haven't been using that. I'm just trying to give people the best information possible. To my knowledge, at the day I am recording this, September 18th, 2024, there is no other platform that does all of the following. Provides a text bot that answers questions in your brain. Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that. Creates an audio facsimile of your voice where people can talk to you and it answers in your voice in real time. There are a few other places that do that, but they will also create a video of you based on your actual video that does not have to be fed a script, where a user can simply talk to your clone and answer in real time. I've investigated this. I look every single day. To my knowledge, there's only one platform in the world that really does this, geared towards subject matter expert. I mean, anyone, if they have enough money, can go ahead and hire all sorts of programmers to do that. Could cost a fortune. So the platform I'm using is Delphi.ai, Delphi.ai, Delphi.ai. And they have memberships that go from free to $2,500 a month, plus $1,000 to get started on video. I would say if you're uncertain about this, if nothing else, start with the free version. What do you have to lose? Yes, you have your time. Your time is valuable. But I think this is going to be big. And, the difference for a lot of people, if you started doing a website in 95 versus 2008, or if you started a blog in 1999 versus 2011, or if you started on YouTube in 2006 versus 2019, pretty big difference of how your career probably ended up. So I'm placing a big bet that this is going to be a big deal. So I would urge you, hop in. If you want to pay nothing, do nothing. I believe they have a lower tier level for 29 bucks as well. At this point, to get into the video mode, it is an upfront fee of $1,000. All this can change. You'll have to check their website. Again, it's delphi.ai. I'm not a paid spokesperson for them. Okay. A question, does the 500-minute credits per month mean I have a maximum of 500 minutes on a video clone's usage? The way the system is right now is you pay a certain amount, you get a certain number of minutes based on which tier you're in. And they've got some that are about $500 a month, and that gives you 1,000 minutes. You can use more, but after that, they charge 10 cents a minute because it is costly streaming out video. So they have to recoup some of their costs. So you would need to check, it's all based on which particular program you're in, monthly subscription that you're in, based on how many minutes you would get. Next question from Aaron is about actually creating the videos. Do you use a teleprompter when you record videos? Very, very rarely. I have on occasion for like a sales promo, or if I'm doing a webinar, a sales webinar, I have used them. But for my entire course that I just did on how to create a digital clone, did not use it at all. What I'm doing right now, I'm just talking to you. So for me, it's more of an issue of it just slows me down. And I don't think most of the time it adds much. So I'm not a huge fan of most people using a teleprompter unless it's a very, very set specific marketing piece, or if you are a president of a country or head of the Federal Reserve or some important position like a finance minister or a minister of foreign affairs, where one wrong word can create huge, huge problems in the world. And are you using a mobile phone or camera to do your recording? So right now I'm in my regular studio. I have a Sony A7, which I think was a couple of $1,000s. These days, the camera on an iPhone or any smartphone is really good. So you don't have to have a regular camera. You can just use a cell phone. I don't know that it matters. Far more important is your microphone. I do have a $1,000 microphone right here. You don't have to have that. Quality lighting. That's what I think is really most important. Plus, having good expertise. So, Aaron, I hope this was helpful. If any of you have questions, post them below. I am coming here typically every day. We've taken some time off in the summer, but I'm here typically every day live taking your questions. If you want to test out my clone, go to tjwalker.ai and you can check it out. Thanks.